Welcome, I'm Jackson Bell.
And I'm Tamara Bell.
And you're listening to our podcast, Talking Movies with My Mom, where I, talk about movies with my mom. And just so you know, there will be spoilers. You've heard me talking movies with my mom. Today, I'll be talking movies with not only my mom, but with my mom's mom. Welcome, Grandma, to our special holiday bonus episode.
I am so happy to be here today with Tamara, my daughter, and Jackson, my grandson, and talking Christmas movies. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah. Woo!
We are so happy to have you here, Mom.
Now, my grandma, Phyllis, is with us from Las Vegas. Not only does she love movies, she was in an episode of The Young and the Restless, and she's a proud member of SAG-AFTRA. Today, we're talking about our favorite Christmas movies. So, as our special guest, Grandma, you get to go first. Which one did you pick?
Well, I am picking It's a Wonderful Life.
Amazing. Here's one synopsis of the movie. George Bailey has so many problems, he's thinking about ending it all. And it's Christmas. As the angels discuss George, we see his life in flashback. As George is about to jump from a bridge, he ends up rescuing his guardian angel, Clarence, who then shows George what his town would have looked like if it hadn't been for all those good deeds he'd done over the years. Now, Grandma, when was the first time you saw It's a Wonderful Life?
Well, let's see. The first time I saw It's a Wonderful Life was in 1956. And I'd like to say thank you to my daughter, Tamara, for Googling the year. That's when it first showed up on television. I was 14. I have watched it every Christmas for 67 years. Needless to say, I really love this movie.
Now, you've seen a lot of holiday movies, Grandma, so why is this one your favorite?
Yes, I have seen a lot of movies in my many, many years. But I love the message from this movie. This Christmas movie means a lot to me. And I guess because George Bailey plans to kill himself because he feels like a failure. Doesn't sound too Christmassy, but George's guardian angel.
Yeah, it's not a feel good.
Yeah. George's guardian angel, Clarence, has other plans for George. He's going to take him on a trip through his life so he can see exactly how loving ways and the kindnesses he has shown his family and his fellow man have made a very important difference in their lives. So when the love and the kindness comes back to him, it is obvious George has led a wonderful life. Amen.
So this movie's history is actually really interesting. So the movie came out in January of 1947, which is a pretty bad time for a Christmas movie. Christmas movie to come out after Christmas. So it was ignored by the public and didn't make back its money. It was actually a box office flop. It was so looked down upon that Frank Capra, despite thinking it was his best work, he had to hide that fact out of embarrassment from his peers, even going so far as to claim his weakest movie, State of the Union, was his best one. So for a while, he was like, yeah, this movie no one likes, it's my favorite, while thinking, It's a Wonderful Life is my favorite. Please don't do anything to me. The weak performance and reception of the movie led to it falling into public domain in 1974. And because of that, every major TV network showed the movie around the holidays because it was cheap that way. And its reputation has started to improve. More people began watching it over the next generations and they began to admire it. And in fact, the movie was so obscure at that time that apparently film critic Andrew Sarris's 1968 book, The American Cinema, doesn't even bring it up at all when talking about Capra. Though that could also be because Sarris was really biased against him in his movies. And and it wasn't until the 90s, the early 90s, when the movie's copyright was finally restored. So now there's one owner of the movie and one channel that actually shows this movie on TV. Now coming into this movie because this is my first time seeing the movie, it was fascinating because I'm more used to the parodies of the movie because this is one of the most common sitcom plots like of all time. There's always like one It's a Wonderful Life homage where one character, often a central character, laments that they're not appreciated. Some guardian angel shows up to show them a world where they never existed, where the other characters feel like garbage. And it's been used so many times that cynical parodies exist where the lives of many have benefited by the character's non-existence. Like my favorite is Beavis and Butthead, where Butthead is shown as by his guardian angel, where he never existed, and everyone's lives are way better off without him. And Butthead realizes I should live, but I should keep living because then I can make people's lives bad. So TV writers, they love what if stories. And that's why I think this plot is chosen so many times, because it's like, what if this person never existed and all this stuff happened? What if this person became a pirate because the central character never existed? Like, it's like you can do a lot of fun stuff like that. I'd like to play around the status quo, because at the end of the episode, everything goes back to normal, because then the main characters are like, I do want to live. And there you go. You can have a little fun, wacky episode. Now, oddly enough, going in, I thought that was going to be the entire movie. I'm like, this movie is 2 hours, 10 minutes. How is it all like one giant? This is what it's like if you never born. Except that didn't happen until the final third of the movie, like the last 25 minutes of that. It's the most parodied aspect of the movie, and yet everybody ignores the first 2/3. And I think that's because for sitcoms and shows, we already know who these characters are. And that's why it's fun seeing where the lives of these other people would have been had the central character not exist. But for this movie, because it's based on a short story, but it's still an original story. So the first 2/3 are meant to build up George's life, from his upbringing to his marriage to how he got to having suicidal thoughts in the first place. Now, I find it kind of weird that this is labeled a Christmas movie, because the holiday doesn't come into play until where else? The third act, about an hour and a half into the plot. And it's funny because throughout the movie, we see the angels talking with each other, going back and forth and all that. That's how we're introduced to Clarence and the other angels. Wouldn't it be kind of funny if that frame of device was not in the movie? Like all of a sudden, Clarence shows up at the end, and it's like, "Whoa, what angels? Supernatural now? What?"
Yeah, that would be a little weird.
Like, this is a very grounded movie up until the angels.
Right.
Now, I don't know if y'all felt the same way when you guys watched it for the first time, but when I was watching this movie, I was thinking all the while, this is fine. I was like, there's a lot of financial talk going on. I know what's going to happen at the end. I've seen this plot before several times. What's the big deal? This is going to be a very boring slog. I'm happy to sit through this movie. But then Jimmy Stewart, after his deal with Clarence, when he realizes that life is worth living, he's going around saying like Merry Christmas to everybody. and you know what? I started feeling a bit emotional inside. I mean, when you look at the scene on the surface, it's ridiculous. It's just some guy going around telling unsuspecting folks Merry Christmas. And it's like, okay. But it was still a sincere performance, which he's claimed that this is his all-time favorite performance. It's that combined with all the hell George went through, because this is a pretty dark movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Just like all the crap George had to deal with, from like his childhood to Mr. Potter and all his dickery.
Right. Yeah, Potter was not a good guy.
And you feel happy for him. And also, I was thinking, I even told Mom, how's this going to help save the bank? Because by this point, the bank needs $8,000 in order for not to be foreclosed upon, which back in the 40s, was like what, $1 million? It was like a shitload of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's like, how's the bank's going to be saved? Is that plot point going to be ignored for the sake of a message about being with your family, no matter if you lose your job? But then came everybody in town coming up to George, thanking him for being wonderful by setting up this donation drive. At this point, I'm close to crying, but I didn't want to because I didn't want to cry in front of my family. I'm that kind of guy. But then comes the bit where one of George's kids notices Clarence's Tom Sawyer book that he's been talking about reading the whole time. And we see that inside, Clarence thanks George for helping him get his wings. And then the floodgates open and I start crying. And I'm like, God damn it, I fucking cry at this movie.
Yay.
And it's funny because I told that to some of my friends and they all agreed. They felt the exact same way I did. I was like, but they're like, this is fine. And then the end, they start crying. I don't know. Did you guys feel the same way when you first watched it?
Sure did. I cry every time, except as I get older, I cry more.
And I was going to say, yeah, I cry every single time at the end of this movie. I mean, how do you not cry at the end of It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, something wrong with you.
Which leads me to one of my questions, Mom. What did you like most about It's a Wonderful Life, aside from the tear-jerking ending?
Okay, well, first, I just have to say how much I loved how George just didn't, he just basically didn't take any shit from Potter. I mean, he called him a warped, frustrated old man to his face, in your eye, Potter, So right there, you know that George isn't afraid. And I love that about him. It seems the only thing he's afraid of, though, is not living up to his dreams. Because, George is all about wanting to do something big and important. And he thinks that means he has to leave Bedford Falls, because how can he do something big and important in such a small, unimportant town? But, fate keeps him tethered to the town, right? He just cannot catch a break. On the day that he's supposed to finally leave for Europe and then go on to college, his father, right, suffers a stroke and dies. So then he's stuck taking care of the Bailey Brothers building and loan, because he can't leave it to Uncle Billy, because God bless him, Uncle Billy ain't no businessman. But then on his wedding day, when he and Mary are finally going to set off to see the world, Potter calls in the loan. But then, toward the end, after Potter, he steals that, you were talking about the $8,000 deposit that went missing. Potter steals that money, right? I mean, this is how bad he is. He, Uncle Billy accidentally gives him the envelope in a folded newspaper. And instead of Potter saying, oh, hey, Billy, here's your $8,000, you accidentally left in the folded newspaper, he takes it. And then he calls the authorities on George, so that's when, George decides that he's going to end it all, because he's worth more dead than alive because of his insurance policy. And then, that's when his guardian angel, Clarence, comes in on the scene, and he gives George the gift of seeing what life could be like without him. And of course, he realizes all the good that he's done over the years and how important he is to so many people's lives. So I think the lesson is that you may feel stuck at times, but when you step back and you really think about it, you'll realize that where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I totally agree, because what I also love about the movie is that it really does show that the smallest of actions can lead to big consequences, because we often see that in a negative light, like, oh, if you do this thing, it'll affect something negatively in the long run. But I love this movie shows the opposite, where one little action can have a really positive outcome.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. It's like a domino effect, right?
Exactly.
Because he, at one point when they were children, he saves his brother Harry.
And then Harry, when he gets into the service, he goes and saves a whole ship full of men. And so there you go. If he hadn't saved Harry, think of all the lives that wouldn't be here or there at the time.
Exactly. And I think Mom's starting to cry again.
Yeah.
So, so we'll move on to the next movie now. And let her get, because this one, I mean, although I don't know, she'll probably cry at this one too. But but another character. It's holiday movies, of course,
you know me well.
Right. It's got to be. You got to be crying. Another character who obviously feels out of place in her world is Samantha Kane, the amnesic single mom school teacher in my favorite holiday movie, Long Kiss Goodnight. According to one synopsis, school teacher and single mother Samantha Kane, who's played by Gina Davis, lives an average suburban life until she begins having strange memories of unexplained violence and discovers that she has physical skills that she never imagined. Hiring private detective Mitch Hennessy, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson, I should say the great Samuel L. Jackson, to probe into her past. Right. Samuel, I'm going to call Samantha. They're almost the same name. Samantha discovers that she's a well-trained government assassin who went missing after suffering a bout of amnesia, and that her former handlers want her back in their employ. So, Jackson, you and I, we first saw this, in 2017, early
Yeah.
2017, 18, I think, when we rented it from, didn't we rent it from Netflix?
We did way back in the day when that was a thing. Sadly, it's no longer a thing. But back in the day, out of the many movies we rented from Netflix, those DVD sites or whatever,
Right.
that was one of them.
The Netflix DVD part, that was before streaming became like a huge deal.
Right, that was where they got their start, was just like a DVD rental service.
And so we rented it then, and we loved it. And so then I got it for you for Christmas. I got it for you, which I'm watching all the time anyway, but it's yours. I got it for you for Christmas 2018. And we watched it that day and then just decided to make it an annual tradition along with our Christmas migas. And I love it so much because first, the cast, right? I mean, besides Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson, you've got Brian Cox pops up in it. And you know my love for Brian Cox, as I've talked about in our episode 4. I love him. Do you love him, Mom?
I love him.
And that is a resounding,
who
she
the hell
loves
is
him.
The short version, yes.
And you know, at the beginning of the movie, I love this because we actually get to see the love between Gina Davis, her daughter, and her fiance. And it's not just one scene and let's move on, you know, to the action because, you know, TikTok, you know, we got to get this thing going, right? I mean, we actually get to see the family at Christmas time sharing moments. And I love that about it. You know, I also really love the banter between Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson, which I think is hilarious. You know, of course, that's due to the script, you know, because obviously everything starts with the script.
Yes, as we mentioned 2 episodes ago.
Right. Right. We love our scripts. But again, it's not just the characters and the script. I think the actors just click. You know, I mean, I think that Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson just have a chemistry that works really well, you know, in this movie. And for instance, there's this one scene after Samantha has, again, she's become Charlie, the CIA assassin. So Samantha was her when she, it was one of her aliases that she kind of remembered when she was, you know, had amnesia. And then slowly she begins remembering that she's an assassin and her real name is Charlie Baltimore. And so when she becomes Charlie again, so she and Mitch, who's Samuel L. Jackson, they're in a car, she's driving, and in response to something that Charlie, you know, Charlie's talking about her next plan of attack. This is what I'm going to do next, you know, and Jackson says something like, I this, you know, I that kind of thing. It sounds like you don't need me anymore. And Davis says, good point. And she stops the vehicle and then just unceremoniously just like tosses him out of the car and takes off. And you know, the first time I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, is she coming back? I mean, did she just toss him out? What's going on here? And I love his reaction was that he's just, you know, he's lying on the ground and he pulls a cigarette out of his pocket and he lights it. And he's just sitting there. I mean, he's just lying there, right? On the ground, like he's waiting for something. And then sure enough, she comes back and is like, you know, parks right in front of him. And then, you know, he hops back in the car. But he does that just like, I knew she was going to come back. You know, that's the kind of thing. It just shows how in tune they are with each other and they have each other's backs. And I love that they were able to get to that point. And then, you know, Jackson's character, Mitch, again, he can say something insightful, which I thought was really interesting. Like, you know, when he points out that maybe Samantha Kane wasn't an act. And he says something to her like, I think you forgot to hate yourself for a while. And I think that means, you know, a lot about Charlie's character as a CIA assassin, how Samantha Kane was almost how she wished that she could be, as opposed to Charlie, how she wished you were more Samantha than Charlie.
Right.
And of course, I just have to also point out, quite frankly, her nail polish holds up beautifully. Despite all the fighting and the shooting and, you know, all that, you know, mud under her finger, all of it. I'm like, wow, I want that polish because it looks
Ditto.
right. I mean, that's just like the greatest thing ever. But, you know, also the action, it really doesn't disappoint either. I mean, you've got Samuel L. Jackson. He plays out of 2 windows. I mean, how can you not love that? Right. I mean, those are such great scenes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
I mean, I love those scenes. And then the special effects are surprisingly still good, you know? So
Yeah.
Jackson, what do you love about the movie?
So what I liked about this movie, first off, Samuel L. Jackson is fantastic. in this movie. He is so funny. He brings his charisma to the role so well. And first off, this character is just great because originally he was actually going to die in the end. Like after he saves Gina Davis's life from the big explosion on the bridge, he was going to die. But then Tess Audiences hated that ending. So they rewrote it just so he can survive and then go on Larry Kane.
Yeah, I mean, he had to live.
And the role is so awesome that even Sam Jackson has said it was his favorite movie experience. That was his favorite character to ever play in his long career with so many iconic characters. I mean, this is the guy who's spawned a shitload of memes, quotable dialogue, like English motherfucker, do you speak it? But Mitch is still his favorite character because he mentioned this on Jimmy Fallon. It was like, no, well, your top 5 favorite roles to play, and that was his number one because he loved working with Gina Davis. He loved working with Rennie Harlan. He loved working with these people because, like you said, Mom, the chemistry is really good.
Oh, it totally is.
And Mitch is such a funny character. He gets all the best lines, and he gets a cool story arc because all his time he's trying to not be useless. He thinks he's just a nobody. He won't accomplish anything, which is why I like his new ending where he actually is a somebody now. He's able to get on like a big talk show and not just like a small like public access show like Larry Kane, who was big at the time.
I mean, it helps when you have the president name check you apparently at one of the press conferences.
It does help.
So then they're like, it does help when you've got a shout out from the president. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did such I love that ending too. I mean, I guess to have him die at the end, it would have been like he did accomplish something and then he died. But this is a character that you want to see actually be able to enjoy the fruits of his labor, so to speak. And so I'm really glad that he was able to live.
And he gets some really badass moments. Like 2 of my favorite scenes are with him. One is the big house explosion near the end where he does fly out the window.
Yes, I love that.
Awesome, because it was when Samantha, she is able to ignite the gasoline flame and the house blows up. And when Sam just flies out that window, that was amazing. And also the scene where he gets into the car at the end, because this whole movie he has a little running joke where he like sings a little blues tune like da 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 da, and then he gets in the car and it's just this electric guitar da 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 da, and then he busts out and says, "Man, that," I'm like, that's honestly really awesome. I love that scene because it's like his character development is complete. He is now a badass.
Exactly, he has completely redeemed himself.
Exactly, and I think one of the biggest things I love is that this movie plays off of the over-the-top stupidity of Rennie Harlan's prior action movies, where people are able to perform crazy stunts and other illogical feats. But all this is mixed with Shane Black, who is I love that guy. He wrote Lethal Weapon, he wrote Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And at the time of this movie, he was like a big hotshot screenwriter. He was like one of the highest paid writers in Hollywood because the scripts are really good. They're really funny, very clever, really violent, but still like really entertaining. And he wrote a script for this movie that has a lot of snarky dialogue, and it's his usual brand of darkly comedic noir storytelling. So it's like you get the Shane Black plot combined with Rennie Harlan's over-the-top direction. And it's just a really fun ride. Like, this is a very entertaining movie. Sadly, this is probably the last good, or at least the last fun Rennie Harlan movie that you can actually watch and be like, wow, this is actually really entertaining all the way through.
Yeah, I agree.
Because unfortunately, like It's a Wonderful Life, this movie was also a flop at the box office. This movie came out right after Rennie Davis, Gina Davis and Rennie Harlan, they were a couple at the time. They were married and they produced their first movie together, Cutthroat Island, which is a gigantic flop. At the time, it was the most expensive flop in cinema history. Like, it lost so much money. And it was just an okay movie. Like, it was really mediocre. It's not exciting or entertaining.
Is that the one with Matthew Modine?
Yeah, and he was like the 15th guy they got because they're like none of the other 14 people they wanted Michael Douglas originally, but he was being paid less money. And Matthew Modine, they were like, at least he can fence. Was and
Oh my gosh.
like Oliver Reed was in the movie, but then he, as usual, he got really drunk. He flashed some people, and then he was kicked off the movie. Like Rennie Hall and Gina Davis were like, we want to bail, but we're getting paid a lot of money for this movie, so we gotta actually make it work. That was a gigantic mess, and unfortunately, Long Kiss Goodnight, despite the fact that they were doing everything they can to make this an improvement, they got like an actual screenwriter for this movie. They got like fun actors to work with. Everything was simplified. It wasn't as expensive as Cutthroat. And while it did make more money than Cutthroat, which I know that's not saying much since
Right, I
Cutthroat
was gonna
costs a
say,
lot.
how hard was that?
It still didn't perform as well. Yeah, once again, didn't do that well at the box office. It got good reviews, better than Cutthroat at least. And Davis and Harlan, they divorced afterwards, and sadly the careers weren't exactly the same after that. Gina Davis started getting like lesser roles, and Harlan started directing more schlock, like action schlock, horror schlock, just schlock all around, and not even the entertaining schlock. Because I mean, this is the same guy made Cliffhanger, and I love the hell out of Cliffhanger.
Oh,
That's
Cliffhanger's a great movie.
It's dumb. It's Die Hard on a Mountain, but it's so fun because it has a great cast and a fun script. But afterwards,
Right.
it's like he has lost his magic. So this
Yeah.
was his last hurrah, honestly. And it's also a Christmas movie because Shane Black, he loves writing his action movies around Christmas time. There's
I think
always
Christmas has got to be his favorite holiday, right?
it has to be. I think it's because his movies tend to be violent and combined with the holiday cheerfulness of Christmas. There's like a weird balance to it. And also, his best movies take place around Christmas. The one time his movie was not set on Christmas was The Predator. That was set around Halloween, just so they can have whoa, your Predator costume looks really realistic.
Now, you actually got to see Shane Black.
I have. I got to see him twice at Austin Film Festival, AFF.
Yeah, what'd you think?
He's a really interesting guy. His advice is interesting. How he came to be was interesting. How he was just this one lonely guy in his mom's basement, just writing stories. He's able to take that and actually sell it and make a shitload of money off it.
So it pays to be a lonely guy cranking out movies in your mom's basement.
No, we never had a basement. Maybe that's why I'm not a hot shot yet.
Okay, next place, we got to get you a basement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh my God. So, Mom, now you saw this movie for the first time a few days ago. So, what were your initial thoughts about it?
Okay. I did not think I would like this Long Kiss Goodnight, but surprise, I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was original and well, it got a little dark, but basically, for me, it had a great message in between the blood shots. It was really, it was very good. I thought it was and of course the acting was great. I loved Jackson and Gina. I'm on first name basis with them.
You're on a first name basis with her.
Yeah, with her. Yeah.
Well, what was your favorite scene?
Okay, my favorite scene. Well, it was a little bloody, actually, a lot bloody. But when 8-year-old Caitlin is told by her dying mother, Charlie, to run away from a bomb that's about to go off close by, Caitlin starts to run, then turns back and goes to try to save her dying mother, showing a child's love for a good mother. Blood everywhere, but a really precious scene. Of course, as a mother, I cried.
Oh my gosh.
I really loved it. It did have a good message. It was so different from any other Christmas movie I have ever seen in my life, in my long life.
That is, yes. I have no doubt that this is not like all the other Christmas. This is not White Christmas. This is not.
No, far from A Wonderful Life. Far.
Yes, this is definitely different. But I totally, that is absolutely a great scene. I love that scene because you're right. It does show that, the daughter is not gonna just give up on her mom.
Right. No, she she knows that her mother has always been, so good to her and loving, and she doesn't want to live without her. She doesn't want her to be around without her as her mother. And so she turns around and goes back, and it's so sweet. I mean, amidst all the craziness going on, this little girl shows love for her mom, and she doesn't care about anything else but giving her mother, making sure her mother lives and can continue to be her sweet mom.
Oh,
And I
love that.
don't cry.
Okay, Mom, you're gonna cry.
I'm sure I'd be the only one in the theater crying at this movie. But there were a lot of good laughs and fun things, but that was just, to me, so endearing that he did a good job writing it. I think he loves his mother.
Well, she gave him space in the basement.
Well, that's true. No wonder he loves her and wants to save her. So it was very special, I thought, and from something that I didn't think I would like and didn't want to see it, but
you were postponing.
Yeah.
Postponing watching it, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. No, it's and I can't understand why it's not, more respected. And but it's great. It's great. And I'm glad that I was forced to watch it, and because it made a difference in me thinking about the movie altogether.
It's funny to say it didn't get much respect, Grandma, because apparently in Germany, this movie's a Christmas classic over there.
Oh.
Like, I think you saw like A Bloody Christmas, something like that. Christmas is in the title, and it's shown on TV
Germans, there. Those Germans, they're not dumb. I'm telling you, they got some good middle things going on as far as liking movies,
right? That's hilarious. So now we've heard from Mom and me about our favorite movies. Jackson, what's your favorite holiday movie?
My favorite holiday movie is actually fairly recent compared to y'all's. This actually came out a few years ago. So my favorite holiday movie is Klaus, the animated movie. So the movie's a unique tale on the origin of Santa Claus. It's about the spoiled, lazy, up-and-coming mailman, Jasper Johansson, who was sent to the obscure town of Smearensburg by his father, who is the head of the Postman Academy. At Smearensburg, he has to deliver 10,000 letters in 1 year in order to prove himself a proper mailman. While there, Jasper finds that the town is ruled by two rival families, the Crumbs and the Ellenbows, who don't quite like each other, to put it lightly. But Jasper ends up meeting the mysterious woodsman Klaus, who, despite his large frame and threatening vibes, shows himself to be a toy maker with a sad past. Just the type of guy Jasper can use to help him get off the island. Now, I love this movie, and one of the reasons is because the making of it, the production, was really cool. So the director of the movie is a guy named Sergio Pablos, who got started as a character designer and animator for Disney movies like Aladdin and Treasure Planet. Now, he felt at the time that theatrical 2D animation began to die off around the 2000s because he felt it hadn't progressed much since the move to digital ink and paint around the late 90s and early 2000s. Meanwhile, he thought CG animation was starting to get boring because it hadn't reached a point where it was no longer innovating. Now, of course, production of the movie started long before stuff like Enter the Spider-Verse came out and kickstarted a new wave of CG movies and TV shows. So anyway, Pablos and his team at Sergio Pablos Animation, SPA, decided to create a new animation technique that was honestly pretty groundbreaking. He did it in a way that gave 2D animation a type of shading that made everything look slightly three-dimensional. In fact, many have described it as an inverted take on something like Disney's The Paperman short, which was a CG animated short made to look 2D. So what we get is something that looks gorgeous. And what's cool is that the movie was animated using Toon Boom, which, like Adobe Flash in the past, is a go-to program that people can just pick up and animate stuff easily. Some people look down on the program for its simplicity, but as I always say, it's not about the program, it's about the artist. I mean, there are people who can make the Mona Lisa in MS Paint. Now, it took a while to get here. As I mentioned earlier, production started around, I believe, the early 2010s. And there was even a proof of concept teaser released online in 2015 to drum up not only interest, but also money to help get the project off the ground. That can be found on YouTube in all its glory. Now, at first, visual effects company Cinesight was going to produce the movie in 2016, but they dropped it in 2017 for reasons still unknown. But thankfully, Netflix arrived to help produce the movie, which finally saw a release in 2019. And it was nominated for Best Animated Picture, which it sadly lost to Toy Story 4, which, that was also good, but Klaus, man, I knocked it out of the park. So, little side note.
Yeah, but it's hard to go up against Toy Story, though.
True. Or Disney and Pixar in general.
Right.
Now, I got to be honest. When I first heard this movie, I thought it was going to be an adaptation of Grant Morrison's Klaus comics, which were also origin stories about Santa Claus. But they mainly involved a manly, muscle-bound Santa with like a skunk stripe hair, beating the shit out of the child murdering Krampus, and other insane, non-kid friendly exploits that Grant Morrison can come up with. So yeah, I was like, oh, we get an adaptation of this? That's badass. And I'm like, oh, this is different.
Although I have no doubt J.K. Simmons plays Klaus in this. And I have no doubt that he could have voiced any type of Santa, whatever it was.
Yeah, no, he's great in the movie. And what's funny is that apparently before he became an actor, he was originally a mall Santa.
J.K. Simmons was?
Oh, yeah.
A mall Santa. I don't know. Does that ring for you? I mean, does that seem like that would actually be? I mean, is that true? Is that on his CV? Does he put that mall Santa? And I'm proud of it.
So, like Long Kiss Goodnight, this is Grandma's first time watching the movie. So, Grandma, what did you think about the movie?
Okay, Jackson, I'll apologize a little bit because I'm not a particular fan of animation.
But you love SpongeBob.
Well, SpongeBob, completely different, whole different deal. I love SpongeBob. But anyway, I have to say, Klaus is so well done. I have definitely made an exception for it because I really like it. Also, a great at Christmas and actually all the time message. A whole mean town turned around because of kindness and caring. And you just can't beat that message. You know I love those kind of messages because they make me cry.
Right.
And a good cry, a
right.
happy cry. So I have to tell you, I really enjoyed it, Jackson. It was very good. It was very good.
Yeah, no, it's such a clever movie too. Just how the origin of Santa, because it all does come to letters. Kids always send letters to Santa. It's really awesome how they able to connect that. And also just like, the whole act of kindness thing. Again, if I love that said, Jesper comes to town, it's in ruin, but through his scheme, he's able to unintentionally fix up everything.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly.
And it comes out perfect.
Yeah, such a very, very clever movie. And it's very funny too.
Very funny.
Yes.
I got a lot of good laughs from it. So I'm all in now on animation.
Now, Mom, what are your thoughts on the movie? Because you've seen this before a few times with me. This is another like tradition that we do.
Oh, yes.
We would watch this movie. It's a double feature of this and Long Kiss every Christmas.
Exactly. And no, I love this. And I love, like you said, I mean, it's very clever. And the fact that Jesper, by doing something for him, for himself, that inadvertently he actually does something for the town. But I do love how Klaus says, a true selfless act always sparks another. And then even Jesper, he repeats that in other scenes. And I think at this point, Jesper starts to get the idea. And especially when it comes to the end where, his dad shows up and says, hey, you can come home now, because of a scheme between the two feuding families, basically made it, 10,000 letters. So he reached his goal, although he didn't reach it. The families helped him to reach it because they wanted to get rid of him on
Right,
the island.
they forged all these letters because they still want the rivalry to continue because it's tradition. Meanwhile, everybody else
Right.
is more comfortable with befriending each other.
Exactly. I mean, they're sharing canned fruit, and then the canned fruit becomes like pies, and then they're back and forth, and they're sharing all this stuff, and the kids are playing together, and cats and dogs living together, and what's going and it's like, oh my, we can't have that.
Wonderful message.
Right. We can't have that though. For the heads of these feuding families don't want that. But Jesper, when he's on the boat going back with he's kind of on the boat. Does he? I can't remember now if he actually gets on. Does he get on the boat with his dad at the end?
He gets on the boat, but then we see that he got off.
Right, he got off the boat. And I think that's when a true selfless act always sparks another. I think that kind of like hit him around that time.
I think he was kind of in love with the teacher too. That's always a motivation.
Well,
kind of.
Yeah. No, he had it bad for her. So you're right. I mean,
that was one of his motivations.
Yes. One of the many. I'm sure selfless act, but also I'm in love.
I'm in love. So that brings the love and kindness and everything together.
Right, exactly. And, there's another theme to this, I think, is, the theme song is called Invisible. And, obviously we've seen this a few times, Jackson, but, this time, I was kind of listening to the lyrics a little bit more. And it says, the greatest things you'll ever know are invisible. I'm not going to sing it, but that's basically what the lyrics say. And I just started crying because it's true. I mean, the greatest things you'll ever know, they're invisible. And then I kind of got to thinking, when you think about it, isn't that what that's what Christmas is all about. I mean, isn't that what any holiday is about, right? It's about the invisible. It's not about what you can see with all the presents and all the food and all, everything, right? All the lights, the trees, the candles, whatever it is, however you celebrate. It's not about all of the things that we can see, but it's more about what we feel. That is really what is the greatest thing about holidays.
Amazing. Truly amazing. And that about wraps up our discussion of these movies. Grandma, do you have any final thoughts about this whole thing? All these movies you've seen with us?
I sure do, Jackson. And it's been wonderful and so much fun to do this podcast with you, my grandson, and my daughter, Tamara. It has been exciting because, for a lot of reasons, but because I've learned to like and love movies that I never thought I'd love and like. And so this has been a real excellent experience for me. And of course, it's probably because I love you guys so much. And I'm not going to cry. I'm going to try not to cry.
She's totally going to cry.
I love you, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And let's just go out there and spread love and kindness. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well said. And on that note, thank you guys so much for listening to our first bonus episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. Be on the lookout for another bonus episode coming on January 10th. Until next time,
Happy holidays! Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
And as always, you can head over to talkingmovieswithmymom.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources from today's episode in the show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.